Welcome to the introduction of needle felting. In this particular episode, we are just going to very quickly run through basic tools that you are going to need for needle felting. You may have bought a kit from somewhere like Hobbycraft or Hobby Lobby or a local haberdashers or a yarn shop, or even on the internet from somewhere like World of Wool. So you can buy all the items individually, as I have, or you may have purchased a little kit where it actually gives you the instructions and a small selection of needles and maybe a handle, plus the block that you would needle felt into. So I'm going to run through some of the items that we've got for you today. You may have a needle felting mat like this. This is a brush mat. This particular one is made by Clover. It's not one of my favourites, I don't get on very well with it, but some people, if this is where they've started, they can use them quite easily. Not my favourite. I prefer to use a foam mat like this one, high density foam, and I find this really useful, and it's what I started with, so I find it easy to work with. Obviously when you're needle felting, you'll need needles, and the needles come like this. They're tiny. You can see where it shimmers, they're barbs, and it's the barbs that help to felt the wool together. I thought I pulled out a silver one, this is red. So you'll notice that we've got different colours on the top of our needles. Okay, so for this one, it's just got a little red mark right on the hook of the needle, whereas this one's a little bit easier to identify. They've actually painted the top of it. Now, the different colours have different uses for when you are felting. So a good beginner needle, or one to get yourself started, would be a silver one, like this. Okay, so that's all silver. And that's quite a heavy shaping tool, so it's brilliant for starting felting your fibres together. You see it's got a lot more barbs than the first one that I showed you, and that'll be used for heavy shaping, getting started. So a 32 gauge or a 36 gauge needle. 32 gauge is silver, 36 is green. It's a really good needle for starting to knit your fibres together. Then you've got other colours. There's a cream star needle, which would be a 36 gauge, and that's a faster starter needle. I don't have one of those to show you. Then you've got a red needle. The red one is 38 gauge. It's a working needle. So once you've done the heavy start of putting your fibres together, and you're finding it really difficult to insert your needle into your project, change over to the red one, 38 gauge needle. And this is great for just making it a little bit more condensed, and you can really begin to shape with the 38 gauge needle. Then you have a blue one and a light blue one. Okay, so the blue one is 40 gauge and is great for beginning to input your detail into it. And the light blue one, I don't know if you can see the difference. Can you see it twisting? It's very blurred, but you can just see that there's a twist to it. Whereas the normal blue one, there is no twist. And the light blue twisted one, again, it's also a 40 gauge needle, and you can use that for flat felting, smoothing out your project, and for condensing even more, so for making it thicker. And then the finest one is our gold. Now the gold one is 42 gauge, it has less barbs in it, and this one looks a little bit bent. You can see a kink in it. It's not the best one to show you. It has less barbs on it, and it's used for finer detail and really for finishing off your project and making it nice and smooth. So that's your different types of needles. In a kit, if you've got just a couple of needles, like your starter needle, silver one or a green and a red one, you may have a handle like this. Okay. Now this is really easy to use. It's got a peg. You pull the peg out of the hole. You select the needle that you want to use. You put the hook of the needle over the narrowest end, holding it together, and you just pop it back in, and you're ready to work. And it's great for just giving you a bit more manoeuvrability with it. It's quite difficult just to hold a thin needle like this, so I like to use a handle on mine. You may have finger guards in your kit. Now, I highly recommend you use the finger guard. You'll have a small dumpy one like this that will go over your thumb, and then the longer one will go over your index finger. And you'll put it on the hand that you're likely to hold your project in. So I'm right-handed, so my needle will be in my right hand, and then I'll put the finger guards on my left hand, so that when I'm holding a project, like so, and I'm felting away, I'm not going to stab my fingers, because it is really hard, really easy to stab your fingers. You could just miss slightly, and then you just end up catching the tip of your fingers. Now the finger guards protect you enough that you're not going to get the end of the needle stuck in your finger. You may go through the leather, but it just protects you a little bit more, and it will break the needle off as well, so you'd end up having to change your needle and starting with a new one. So finger guards, I don't know yet whether or not there are vegan ones. I guess you could purchase faux leather, but these ones are actually leather, so not good if you're a vegetarian or a vegan. Some of the other tools that you may like to use is these ones with the nice big handles. So this one is very much like holding a pen, and the pink one, these are all made by Clover. So this pink one, you can see we've got 3 needles in the end. So it just means that you get felted a lot quicker when you're using a few more needles. I prefer to use a single needle, but some people like to use the multi-tool. So this one holds 3. Then we have a green one, which you can see holds 5. And you've got this protective casing, so that when you're working and you're pushing into your project, it pushes the plastic case up and then reveals the needles, and it's a lot safer. And when you're not using it, you just twist it to lock it in place, and you can't push that down, and it just protects your fingers. It covers the needles, and then when you want to use it again, you unlock it, and you can go back to stabbing in an upward downward motion, and you're protected. And then there's this blue one. Don't know the brand of this one. I think it's just generic, and again it's got that plastic cover which goes up and down, and then you twist it to lock it in place, and then you unlock it again when you want to use it. This one actually holds 7 needles. Like I say, I don't like to use them, but they're good to have around, especially if you're working on slightly larger projects.